Imagine you're an elite business school professor, and the ticking clock is running out on your chance to invest in a pitch from your own college students. The founders are asking for your money, but they refuse to commit. They are keeping their day jobs. They have backup plans in case things go wrong. To a seasoned investor, they look terrified of taking a real leap. So the professor passes. That professor was Adam Grant, and those cautious students were building Warby Parker. Today, that single rejection is a mistake worth roughly $3 billion. Our culture insists that true innovators leap without a parachute. We expect them to drop out of college, max out their credit cards, and burn their boats to guarantee success. Grant's decision was based on that exact assumption. The problem is, that widely accepted profile of a world-changing entrepreneur is entirely backward. When you actually study people who successfully bring radical new ideas into the world, you find they are incredibly cautious risk mitigators. Look at this bar chart comparing failure rates among founders. The data reveals that entrepreneurs who keep their day jobs while building a side business are 33% less likely to fail than those who quit on day one. Even the founders of the most valuable company on earth followed this path. Steve Wozniak built the first Apple computer while stubbornly keeping his full-time engineering job at Hewlett Packard. This diagram illustrates what psychologists call a balanced risk portfolio. You anchor one side of your life with a highly secure baseline, like a steady income, so you can safely place wild, erratic bets on the other side. Holding on to a safety net doesn't mean you lack conviction. It gives you the emotional stability required to take extreme creative swings without the paralyzing fear of bankruptcy. Curious tone. If these creators are playing it so safe financially, we have to look at how they manage to produce truly brilliant ideas. The psychological data tells a harsh truth. Generating a masterpiece requires producing a massive volume of absolute garbage first. Thomas Edison is remembered for the light bulb and the phonograph. What we forget is that he held over 1,000 patents, and the vast majority of them, like his electric pen and a creepy talking doll, were total commercial flops. The pattern holds in the arts, too. William Shakespeare wrote 37 plays and over 150 sonnets. We study Hamlet and Macbeth, but nobody talks about the dozens of works he wrote that are entirely forgotten today. The most original thinkers fail constantly because they produce constantly. Their true advantage is raw output volume, trusting that the market will eventually filter out the noise and leave the winners. Corporate culture demands speed. We are taught that the fastest execution yields the sharpest competitive edge, but the brain operates differently. This visualization illustrates the Zeigarnik effect, where an unfinished task loops continuously in your subconscious. Rush a task, and your output is linear and conventional. Intentionally delay execution, and your subconscious weaves a complex web of unconventional solutions. Martin Luther King Jr. mastered this specific delay tactic. He didn't finish writing his I Have a Dream speech weeks in advance. He left the most iconic sections completely unstructured until mere hours before stepping up to the podium, letting his subconscious marinate the ideas until real-time intuition took over. Delaying a final decision isn't a sign of laziness. It is a highly calculated technique that gives the mind time to bake an idea to its maximum potential. Eventually, every disruptive idea has to survive a boardroom pitch. The standard advice is to project pure confidence and hide your weaknesses, but research points to a tactic called the Salovic effect, which demands you open your pitch by listing the 3 biggest flaws in your own concept. When you aggressively critique your own work, the audience loses the instinct to attack you. You disarm their skepticism, turning hostile critics into collaborative problem solvers who start looking for ways to help you fix the flaws you pointed out. Once their guard is down, you have to bypass their fear of the unknown by anchoring your radical concept to something deeply familiar. When executives rejected the pitch for an animated movie about a lion cub being framed for murder by his uncle, the creators simply repitched it as Hamlet, but with animals in Africa. Disney greenlit The Lion King immediately. Selling a disruptive concept rarely relies on raw facts. Success comes from strategically manipulating the audience's psychological comfort zones. We can actively engineer this psychological profile in the people around us, starting from childhood. When a child does something brave or creative, praise their character instead of their action. Saying, "You are a generous person," instead of, "That was a nice thing to do," weaves that trait into their core identity, making them far more comfortable taking future risks. In the workplace, you have to protect those risks by assigning authentic dissenters, people who genuinely disagree with the consensus, to break up groupthink. Fake devil's advocates rarely have the conviction to stop a bad idea. Adam Grant lost out on billions because he didn't realize the Warby Parker founders were applying these exact principles. They kept their day jobs to secure their baseline, generated massive volumes of ideas, delayed their launch until the product was ready, and pitched him while openly admitting they lacked experience. You don't need to burn your boats or gamble your life savings to introduce a new idea to the world. You only need the strategic discipline to question the default settings.